If some of the letters appear to be a little disjointed, it is probably because of the prevailing censorship, plus the fact that the gaffer used to edit some of the letters themselves, because a lot of people, although some were brilliant letter writers, some weren't that literate, so he had to edit them, right? Some names crop up a few times, while others hardly wrote at all. Finally, it will be seen that most members retain their very Jewish-sounding surnames, and that many were known affectionately by their nicknames. This was very common at the time. Don't forget, we're talking about over 70 years ago. So here goes, the extracts. Dan Calixstein, overseas, 17th of Feb, 1942. I think I've met at least half the club boys out here, and everyone is looking forward to the club victory dance. Dickie Fogel, Stein, Simi Rothenberg, Turner, Frenchie are all still about, and I hear from Lou Levine and Phil Measure. News is not so hot, but we'll still win the last round. Percy Lefkovich. I had the badge you sent me lying on the bed when a chap said that he thought he recognised it. He was from Eton Manor, and when I told him the name of my club, Oxford and St George's, he said, "Oh, of course, that's the club that wins almost every cup that's going." I rather enjoyed him saying that. Lou Martinson, overseas, 19th of Feb, 1942. Can I claim a record by being first to ask the fund to include a tin of Keatings with each parcel sent out here? We are now in the season of fleas, and it won't be long before our friends the bugs and flies will be telling their friends how tasty I am. Harry Scher. So far, we have shot down 4 planes. If the Hun does try anything, I can assure you he will get a warm reception. Morris Simmons. He was a friend of my brother Alf, who's here in the front. Morris Simmons. A convoy of about 30 ships were passing through, and suddenly about a dozen Jerry planes came sweeping towards them. It was grand to hear our naval guns offer such a stubborn resistance, and it was also a good sight to see 2 Jerry planes go crashing into the sea. Schnozzle Solomons. Always amusing me, I told you about the nickname. Overseas, 12th of December 1941. I'm stationed in the middle of a desert with nothing but sandflies. I'm eagerly awaiting the day when I'll be able to be doing something that will help a little in shortening the war. I visited Cairo and bumped into algae. I myself haven't been anywhere near the front line yet, and I only hope that I get a chance to have a crack at them. Paul Shobin, overseas, 13th of January 1943. My worries now are centred on the post-war conditions. Promises have been made about jobs for all servicemen, but will there be enough jobs to go round? Women have moved into men's jobs very satisfactorily. Will employers engage men for higher wages? All these problems, I think, should be thrashed out now, because service life has made me, as many others, realise that life is really very short, and we don't want to stay in the forces longer than necessary, because life is too precious to be wasted. Schleimer Solomons, overseas. There isn't much to write about at present, and when I shall have something to write about, it will probably be censored. We went for a 5-mile run the other day, and I couldn't help finishing up the last 100 yards in the traditional Osunji sprint. Lou Sussman, from an Italian prisoner of war camp, 26th of January 1943. After having been burnt rather badly on the legs, face and hands last June, I am well on the road to complete recovery. I owe this to the doctor here, who has done his very best for me. Alfred Emden, prisoner of war, 23rd of January 1943. It's great to know that folks still remember me tucked away here. We make our own amusements and get a kick out of things in general. My bridge has improved, and I've got out of the habit of trumping my partner's one and only ace. Harry Coran, overseas, 7th of February 1943. We had quite a distinguished visitor to our unit, Winston Churchill no less. He's a grand old boy and certainly gets about a lot. He spoke concerning our achievements and embarrassed most of us by declaring that if after the war we were asked what we did, it would be sufficient to say, "I marched with the 8th Army." You might spread the following news amongst our females at the club. They'll be glad to hear it. There is no fear of their menfolk losing their hearts to Italian girls, since their dark females are not a patch on our own, even with their flashing eyes. Sol Schmaltzman. They don't make names like that anymore. Sol Schmaltzman overseas, 16th of November 1942. The few words you write at the bottom of each letter that accompanies fragments actually need a code to decipher. The news has cheered us all up, and it's made us feel that we are part of the British Empire and all it stands for. I would be prepared to give my life rather than submit to the fascist tyranny. Henry Reiter, overseas, 12th of February 1943. I'm on active service at the present moment, and shock troops are usually on lonely outposts where they make raids behind the enemy lines and go on patrols. I'm doing my utmost to knock Jerry about. I don't suppose you hear about commandos very much. The Germans are very cruel to them. They don't seem to like us. It is great to have a fight with bare hands. The main thing is to do a lot of damage and get away unnoticed. I would like to end the reading with this famous verse from the poem For the Fallen by Lawrence Binyon, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with already, but I think it's appropriate that I read this out. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Thank you very much.